It's a nice talk with Gimme Go.
What's up, people? This is your babe, Gimme Go, live in Sedi Plaza, Abuja, in Jim I Premier Movie. We're here live to enjoy and to experience the program. So stay with us and keep watching Gimme Go. Premier Movie today.
Good evening from here.
Yeah. Please, your name?
My name is Chief Hilary.
Okay, so what are you expecting tonight?
I don't know good. Everywhere is okay. Just expecting the best out of it.
Who are your favorite artists, actress?
Of course, I'm majorly here because of Jimmy Ike. Just to support him, yeah.
Okay, that is nice. You're welcome.
And my friend again, Waje, one of the organizers.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your movie.
Thanks.
Program Jim Ike movie preview. Hello, good evening. You are looking beautiful. Oh, thank you. Yeah, so what are your experience tonight?
I'm so excited to be here in the first place. I've been meaning to come watch this movie, so I'm expecting a whole lot of interesting. I know whenever there's Jim Mike, there's always an interesting movie, you know. So I'm expecting a lot.
So you're excited today to meet Jim Ike, and do you have any favorite actors or actresses that you want to meet tonight?
Yes. Oh, there's Patience Zokwa, there's Jim Mike, there's Iniedo, Chiwetalago, and so on.
Thank you. Nice meeting you. Your name once more?
My name is Frances.
Thank you. Enjoy your movie.
Thank you.
It's overwhelming at the moment. As you can see, we planned maybe for 350 people. We have roughly over 500 show up at the cinemas. I think it's beginning to unravel the extent of how much this film, this body of work is appreciated. Mental health cannot be undermined under any circumstances, and it just so happens to be the chief factor in the whole social media, internet ecosystem at the moment. We made this movie. I created it for specifics, to address specifics. Aside entertainment, there's an advocacy behind it. I want to understand the damage trolls, cyberbullying is causing to our people. We need to understand that in order to go into that space, it's a public domain, so it's only fair people conduct themselves with decorum when they're there. It's just so much happening. It's a common denominator for us. It was very important for me to tell a story that I think anybody can resonate with, irrespective of creed, status, religion, or political affiliation. The common denominator is just from the humanist angle, where people can see a movie, relate to it, find themselves in it, and begin to question their responsibilities to one another.
Definitely an important concept that has resonated with the audiences that have already seen the movie. Mm-hmm. So what else can we expect from the movie in the way that it's going to really make an impact on people?
It's making so much impact already. I'm in talks with them two governors as we speak. Just 2 days ago, the governor from Lagos State, His Excellency Sanwo-Olu, more or less adopted it as a body of work to advocate for mental health issues in Lagos State. That is signed and sealed already. Right now, Governor Yaya Bello has also jumped on board. We had a talk this morning with, I think, about 8-9 o'clock. We spent about 2 hours talking about how they can partner with me to relate with the youth sector in order for them to begin to understand the responsibility in the internet space. So yes, it's going far and wide. We're also one of the first, we're in fact indeed the first film that ever played on the Times Square in New York. It's relatively a new, we're barely 10 days in the cinema. To see this impact so fast in such a short time is really mind-blowing, and I like the fact that people are beginning to really understand what was behind my mind when I created this film.
Wonderful, Mr. J. I saw the trailer of the movie, fantastic. And you wore different hats in making this movie. You are the executive producer. So can you share that experience with us?
It's amazing. One I've produced before. It's not my first production. This is my third, by far the largest production I ever did. It's also my first stint as an executive producer. I've produced, I've directed, I've written. But this is my baby. I nurtured this for about a year before we started shooting. I was car props, I was the stylist on set, I was the property manager, I was, you know, producer, I was executive producer, I was lead as well. So you can begin to imagine multitasking at its premium best, you know. So to stand, it's one thing to be in front of the camera, it's another thing to be behind the camera. To be in front and behind the camera, trust me, is slightly overwhelming. But you know, as daunting as it is, we came out really well, and I'm glad that people are beginning to really love this.
The cast, how are you able to combine
Sounds
the very young
amazing.
generation with your own generation?
A generation is a generation, my brother. I don't know what you mean by a young generation and other generation. It's no, we're all thespians, we're actors now, I know, and you know what we wanted to do was to create a body of work that people come into. As you can see, I drew, you know, people from different backgrounds. Young John, the wicked producer, was there. His debut production. Special was there. Debut production. Timaya was there. Debut production. Rugged Man. I drew people. What I wanted to do was create a body of work.
With bad comments already on the cinemas, what do you feel of, say, what they would be expecting from you again from the production?
That's a good question as well. I've been thinking for a long time. I'm predominantly a businessman now. I just you know, I think I've given about a decade and a half of my life to this establishment. I pay my dues through tears, blood, and work. And I just think sometimes that I've earned the right to come and go as I please. There's no need to stay in a space when you have nothing to say. When I have something to say, I always come back. And I think this is, you know, I have something strong to say about this production.
Okay, you said something about creating or putting your mindset on the screen. So what impact are you expecting us to see watching this movie so that we'll be able to match it with the people that are in there right now?
I want them to take away something that is profound. Like I said, it's a satire, if you will. It's a tongue-in-cheek portrayal of that ecosystem and the actors in it. I wanted everything, every minute detail amplified so people will begin to understand the impediment that the social media space is weighing very heavily on our psyche, on our mental health. You know, between the ages of 15 to 7, between the age of 15 and 19, if I'm sure, are the most susceptible for suicide right now. And 77% of that are prevalent in middle class, low class societies. That's namely us. Now, the reason is that we don't talk about it well enough. We don't converse about it. Every time you speak up about your mental health, you're deemed weak. You're deemed lesser mortal. And that's the way it is. This is the movie to create. This is the time. Our government just banned one of the major platforms in the world. And we just came through a process where our millennials said enough is enough. They spoke for themselves. They demanded their fundamental rights. They wanted to be heard. What necessitated that action was the social media space. So yes, it's untold blessing. It's untold empowering. But there's also untold tragedy therein. And that's what I wanted to provoke. That you can go in there. It's become kind of culturally cool to project hatred and cruelty on this platform. You know, people abuse each other, people demean people's, what they stand for, people's value. You demean somebody's self-esteem. It's okay to now, call out people in a sense and body shame them, and then people think you're cool. I think it's wrong. Okay, so trolling, cyberbullying, I think is one of the worst kinds right now, and I think it's an issue that can be addressed. And how can we address it? It's not enough to talk about it behind the context. It's enough to create this kind of body of work. Look at the people in there. At least I'm sure that 600 people, 600 eyeballs from different spheres of life are going to see it tonight. And I'm going to go out there and talk about it. Now, this may not change overnight, but believe me, we're changing the narrative as we go.
How are you able to balance this delicate theme with the entertainment factor?
That is the very, very delicate thing. I think you used the right word for it. To entertain and educate at the same time. It's a fine line, really. We have to be careful. I researched how I could convey the story without it being boring, without it being, unentertaining. It's not enough, it will not suffice to make such an intense, serious film and get people to go sit in cinemas and watch it and be educated and yet be bored. So it took a certain special thing. I think that's where I really doffed my hat to Moses. We had a conversation, we understood the assignment, but then how to balance it, that precarious thing, that thing that conveys a certain message through satire, through a certain brand of humor, was what we have to be very careful about. Up until now, I believe it's one of the most reviewed, one of the most critically acclaimed movies. I was shocked when Cinema Pointer came out for one, because I'm told is the elephant in the room most times, to say that this was possibly the best film ever produced in the Nollywood space. So, I mean, it's a really special feeling to know that the kind of work we put in. We shot this movie for 2 months, shot well over the 100 million mark. I essentially drew experts from about 4 different countries. There were about 72 of us as crew members here in Abuja. We shot that, and it's a special feeling to know that work is appreciated.
And like you said, almost pushing 2 decades in the movie industry, and we've seen you in a lot of amazing films. Would you say this is your best film yet?
Yes, by a far stretch. I've made many amazing work. This is different, and I'm not saying it because I'm the executive producer and the lead. If I were to be offered the script and I wasn't going to be paid, I would do it.
So, sir, were you expecting more people? Because people really turned, so many people were in love with you because of who you are and how far you have touched so many lives. So, there are so many people around tonight. Were you expecting this kind of
I always do everything deliberately. I don't think I ever do anything just out of space or without proper projection. I always speak in the future of my vision, speak the truth of what I want. I speak things into existence, if you will. When I position to win. When I lose, it will look like I'm winning as well, because there's just one thing I take away a lesson from it: reposition, reset, re-strategize, and I move forward. What we did here was born out of very careful PR profiling, understanding the structure and the demographic we're approaching and the psyche of the people. I did something that was totally different from other premieres. Most premieres target a certain demographic, a certain class of people. They bring them, they enjoy the movie, disseminate whatever they wish from there, and then it begins to, hold water. What I wanted to do was different. I said, I am going to create space for the so-called elites. I'm going to create space for the people that I know that can afford certain value in life. Now, in order to come into my space, that's another thing. You must dictate your terms at all times. I always dictate my terms. To come into my space, I want you to fund people that can afford it to see this film. So it's an easy bargain. The rich will fund the ones that cannot afford it. I'm not saying they're poor, but there are students in there, there are youth couples in there, they're enjoying that film. It's a special feeling knowing that they didn't pay for it, And it was totally funded by the other dudes in that hall. So it was a bargaining of sorts, and I'm really happy that I was able to broker that kind of deal. So it's special, really, and that's how we're going to keep going. From here is Owerri next. After Owerri, we're going to Port Harcourt. After Port Harcourt, I'm doing Ibadan. After Ibadan, I'm going to Ghana. After Ghana is Amsterdam, London, and Houston. So the propensity keeps moving.
You're really doing well, sir.
Thank you, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.